Policy Center. Governor
Hey,
Inslee's
thank you.
unscientific COVID dials. I'm going to share a little bit about this, and then we're going to talk to the team over there. So during Governor Jay Inslee's regular press briefings concerning business closures that he deemed necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic, he asserted his policies were based on science and the reopening of the state depended in part on performance measured by his risk assessment dials. Well, WPC's Center for the Environment Director Todd Myers began examining and then challenging the assessment dial science. So Todd's work was then featured in a front page story of the Olympian newspaper in Washington, which led to national media coverage in the Wall Street Journal, led to the Ingram angle on Fox News. WPC's work began to have an impact when at the governor's regular press conferences, reporters started asking questions based on Todd's research. So shortly after Todd's work received this high-level state and the national coverage, WPC's position became the dominant one, so much so that the governor abandoned his own risk assessment dials, which was an implicit acknowledgement that WPC's narrative made the status quo unsustainable. So joining us today to accept the award is David Boze. David, congratulations.
Hey, thank you so much, Meredith. Can you hear me okay? I can't tell.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, Todd Myers just does outstanding work all the time. And there's still questions that are being raised by reporters based on Todd's work because he's kind of like a pit bull. He's obsessed with it. So he's been continuing to follow our State Department of Health and the governor's data and showing things like most recently there was a spike in transmissions in King County, and yet we're told the protests had nothing to do with it. So the question is, if it wasn't the protest, what was it? And if it's not the protest, then doesn't that make sense that we should be able to be together more often, safely? So, we're still seeing Todd's work being featured in stories and pursuing the response to the COVID-19 pandemic from the state level.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's good to hear that y'all are still like staying on top of this and helping drive that media narrative. So when you look back at how this all started, what was your strategy, David, as you were thinking through, okay, we need to drive the media narrative here and leverage that asset to help get people thinking about this topic? What was your strategy there?
It was the simplest strategy possible, which was just get it in front of the right people, right? I mean, one of the things that I've heard from a lot of communications, the great people that you've interviewed so far, and this is really true, is you got to get the story out there. You got to have your story be compelling, but also you have to think of it from a media perspective. They're swamped, they're on deadlines, so you got to make it really easy. So yeah, we put out the press release, but there's a lot of extra words and data and all this type of thing. I come from a media background, so I know what it's like to have this very strict deadline, and you'll get press releases from people or information from people, and they're just including everything that they want you to know. We just boiled it right down to, there's a problem with the governor's COVID-19 dashboard risk assessment dials. These are not accurate. And once you get that, then that piques the interest, and they're saying, hey, wait a second. Speaking of great communications guys, there's Todd Myers right there. He did the research, and really, he's just been fantastic for Washington Policy Center.
Well, and it shows how policy and communications together can be a very powerful team when they work together, communications coming in and helping with the media placement. So David, y'all did that first placement in the Olympian, and then it just went national. How did you make that leap into the national platforms?
Both in local and national, a lot of it was personal contacts. We've had contacts with the Wall Street Journal. We thought this was a compelling story. We thought that the governor has received a lot of national attention, so it's a national name. Seattle itself has been kind of a lightning rod for the nation. So we thought, this is worth pursuing on a national basis. Todd wrote a fantastic op-ed, and we thought rather than pursue a local placement, let's pursue a national placement. Let's use some of those contacts. Same thing as before, a really simple strategy. If you know people in the media that would be interested in this story, simplify it to its bare bones and pitch it, and it's like T-ball. It's not pro ball, this is T-ball when you've got a story and research that is that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, there's a lot of people that are watching right now. They're thinking, oh my goodness, this was huge that y'all did this and you were able to shift policy in this way by driving the media narrative. What encouragement or words of wisdom do you have for others who are thinking about their media placement strategy, or they're driving the media narrative strategy?
Well, I would say, one, take your research seriously, because the research that Todd does here is going to help everywhere else. Because, one of the habitual responses is, oh, well, they're inaccurate. They're the right-wing group. They're this, they're that. And what we're showing is when the, when the state officials are claiming one thing and we're showing that it's something else, and it turns out to be true, that means those reporters are going to trust you more the next time. So you got to keep going back again and again, and then showing reporters and media people, hey, they said this is what the reality was, and this is ultimately what they had to change. You have to remind them of those things. So don't get frustrated, develop relationships with the media, and always keep in mind the deadline. I can't tell you how many times you'll have people with a great research, great paper, and they want people to know everything. I beg of you, just let them know a tiny thing, let them know the bare bones. What do you want them walking away with? And then if they need more, they'll go get it.
Exactly. You just got to kind of throw the line out there with a little bit of bait and just see who catches on, and then you can reel them in and have more of that deep conversation. Well, thank you so much, David. This is congratulations again to you and your team. We can't wait to see what y'all continue to do on this issue. So keep us posted on how it's all going with driving the media narrative.
Thank you, Mary.